Good morning, everyone. This is a day about giving thanks. And I want to thank, first and foremost, Officer Marco DeFranco. I want to thank him for his selfless service and for giving everything to this city. Let me extend again my sincerest condolences to Officer DeFranco's family, who he left behind a wife and 2 young children, with countless other family and loved ones, all of whom are grieving over this shocking and irreplaceable loss. We owe Officer DeFranco and his entire family a debt of gratitude forever. His death served as an urgent reminder of the risk our first responders face in serving our city and keeping us safe during this pandemic, as well as a painful reminder of the danger of this virus that does not discriminate among our residents, young or old, geography, country of origin. It is something that all of us need to be on the guard against. But amid these trying times, there is always hope and a reason to celebrate. Our first responders have been a torchlight throughout this crisis, inspiring more than 100 generous individuals, schools, churches, restaurants, and nonprofit organizations to help support our brave men and women who are on the front lines of this fight. These donors have provided meals and snacks, as well as supplemented the department's cleaning supplies and protective gear. There are many, many examples across our city of this kind of resiliency and support. Among them are the public and private schools that have provided disinfectant wipes and cleaning supplies to clean squad cars and police facilities. These are the same wipes that many parents purchased at the beginning of the school year for their schools. With students at home and attending class remotely, these supplies were available and are being put to good use by teachers, students, and staff who didn't hesitate to fill a need. There have also been Girl Scouts from across Chicago that flooded districts with boxes of cookies. And as a Girl Scout myself, and my daughter following in that tradition, I'm especially proud of the Girl Scouts for stepping up, as they always do. We've also received bags of Chicago's Absento coffee arrived for officers, giving them a much-needed pick-me-up to get them through a long shift. Sometimes a cookie and a cup of coffee can make all the world of difference. Other organizations like Koval Distillery in Ravenswood altered their business model to produce more than 100 gallons of hand sanitizer which was distributed to all 22 districts throughout the city. And I also want to take this opportunity to personally thank Mike Strama of Magdit's Glove and Supply, whose company also donated N95 masks and protective gloves to Chicago police officers working citywide. Thank you so much. They've contributed over 12,000 protective gear kits that CPD has distributed to officers in the field to date. More than 20,000 bottles of hand sanitizer have also been distributed to police officers, and there have been over 101,000 surgical masks donated, as well as 76,000 gloves handed out. And these are on top of the hundreds of thousands of materials distributed by our own Department of Public Health. I want to also take this opportunity to thank someone else. I want to recognize the outstanding leadership of Alderman Matt O'Shea of the 19th Ward, which is home to numerous police officers, firefighters, and paramedics. Alderman O'Shea has raised more than $47,000 to support first responders and medical workers, which, folks, is just tremendous. The money raised by Alderman O'Shea was used to buy food from local restaurants which are struggling. This food has been delivered to hospitals and police stations. And although struggling, several of these restaurants sold food at a discount to contribute to the cause. Now, lots of people will talk about leadership. Matt O'Shea gets it done. And let me do a plug again for the Third Watch. Our Third Watch workers continue to be diligent in their duties, but they also need to eat. So if you're inclined and thinking about making a donation, don't forget about the Third Watch. There are first responders, but there are others that have responded. And this announcement today is more than just a thank you. Let me also update you that since we announced the opening of a hotel for first responders, we have more than 100 who have taken advantage. And I want to thank again the Essex Hotel and its leadership for really stepping up and providing this incredibly important resource for our first responders who just need a little bit more of respite. I've said again and again, we are all in this together. Today we come to you with concrete examples of what it looks like when a city responds to a crisis in unison. And it's a warm welcome for the department's next superintendent, David Brown. Folks, this is Chicago at its finest. Thank all of you once again for stepping up to the plate. And with that, I'd like to welcome to the podium Superintendent Beck to say a few words. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mayor. For the last 4 months, it's been my honor to serve an organization that is comprised of over 13,000 heroes. But they're not the only heroes in the city of Chicago. When residents and organizations in Chicago heard there was a need for additional supplies and equipment to fight COVID-19, they stepped up to help protect our city's police officers. Hundreds of organizations and individuals donated supplies, food, and equipment as officers continued to work during the COVID-19 outbreak. Distilleries like Koval shifted their production to make and distribute sanitizing products to first responders and healthcare workers, ensuring they have additional layers of protection from COVID-19. When hand sanitizers were hard to come by, Koval Distillery donated 110 gallons of hand sanitizer for all our districts and units. 18th Street Brewery from Hammond, Indiana, drove down to the 19th District to deliver cleaning solutions they made so officers could keep their equipment and vehicles clean. Magnet Safety immediately contacted us after hearing about the nationwide shortage of N95 masks and donated boxes of the masks and gloves. Target has also helped provide masks to equip our officers with extra protection. As a matter of fact, Target called, told me they were going to strip the shelves of N95 masks and deliver them all to the Chicago Police Department. Ken Griffin, who has continually supported CPD, ensured we could build on our current stockpile of cleaning supplies and equipment. And I can't thank Ken enough. They have made things available to us that we didn't ever think we would need. You know, we took delivery of 100 infrared thermometers yesterday, and we should have them in the district shortly so that we can make sure our employees are safe when they come to work. Local businesses from across the city gave up their own supplies to help our officers. Business owners who are part of Islamic community outreach pooled gloves, masks, sanitizers from their own inventory to give to our officers. Churches and schools ensured extra cleaning supplies were sent our way. Schools like Erbinger Elementary and St. Christina School gathered boxes of cleaning supplies, including the hard-to-find disinfecting wipes, so officers could sanitize vehicles and district work areas. The city's beleaguered restaurants have also been facing their own set of challenges during this time, but this didn't stop restaurants like Triple Crown, Temple Fuel, Jerk 48, and many others from taking time out of their day to prepare and donate meals to our officers. Mohammed Saleh, who works at Neighborhood Sitco Station, hand-delivered boxes of gloves and cases of waters to officers in the 5th District. He also special ordered masks to donate. Chicago residents like Amy Desmond and Michelle Kamek handmade masks and delivered them to our officers, and I have to thank them. They made some beautiful masks that are the replicas of the Chicago flag. I saved one for my keepsake room, unless I have to use it later. 19th Ward, Alderman Matt O'Shea and the original Pancake House teamed up to support first responders and healthcare workers. They set up a GoFundMe account, and donors graciously and generously raised over $40,000. CPD is extremely grateful for how the community has shown up for us, just like we show up for you. This is a city that truly stands together and protects one another. And our officers are proud to serve this city. I am proud to serve this city. And I want to bring up somebody that has exemplified this tradition of service, this belief in making sure that people that protect us are safe, and that's Mike Strama, the Vice President of MAGID. Mike, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Strama. I'm part of the management team at MAGID Glove and Safety. MAGID was founded nearly 75 years ago here in Chicago for one purpose, and that was to keep people safe. In normal times, that's the industrial worker. These aren't normal times. Right now, we're trying to keep our police officers safe, healthcare professionals, frontline workers, and the entire community. While it's always been important to MAGID and its employees to give back, it's more important than ever right now. Whether it's donating personal protective equipment or going to check on your neighbors, now is the time for us to pull together. We are honored to be here and have the ability to give back to our community. We're also extremely thankful to the police force and all they do to protect us during these difficult times. In addition to what we've already donated, we pledge to continue helping Chicago and the surrounding area to stay safe during this crisis. To that end, we're repurposing our Romeoville manufacturing facility to start making Tyvek garments for frontline workers. And just today, we're going to donate another 1,200 N95 masks, 500 goggles, and 10,000 disposable gloves to the CPD. This is a collective effort. MAGID is committed to doing our part. Thank you very much. Alderman O'Shea.
Good morning. I'd like to start by thanking our mayor, Lori Lightfoot. Throughout this crisis, the mayor has made some really tough calls. She has consistently let science and concern for human life dictate her actions, and for that, I am most grateful. Last month, I fielded a phone call from Julie Harrigan, the owner of the original Pancake House in Beverly, asking how they could help in the face of this crisis. From that conversation, my staff and I decided to launch a GoFundMe page to support the business community, first responders, and frontline medical workers. The concept is simple. Using the money that is donated to the GoFundMe page, we purchase individually packaged meals from our struggling restaurants and provide those meals to first responders and frontline medical workers at area hospitals. This is the 19th Ward community coming together to support those who protect us. A small token of our appreciation for all that they do. If you'd like to help, go to our website, www.the19thward.com, or my Facebook page to make a small donation. I'm proud to report that in the past 14 days, this effort has raised nearly $50,000 to support our heroes. We have provided meals to frontline workers at Advocate Christ Medical Center, OSF Little Company of Mary Hospital, and several police stations on the south side and fire stations. Because of the tremendous outpouring of support, we're now branching out all across the city to support as many first responders as we can with hot meals. Lastly, I'd like to thank Superintendent Charlie Beck for his leadership during these past few months. I was fortunate enough to get to know Charlie a little bit, and I have a tremendous amount of respect and admiration for all you do for our department. So thank you, sir. And to Chief David Brown, welcome to the neighborhood. I look forward to working with you as you come in to lead this finest police department in the land. Thanks for allowing me to speak today. God bless all our first responders and frontline medical workers. And everybody, please, stay home. Save lives. Chief?
Thank you, Alderman O'Shea, for that introduction. I also want to give thanks to the other leaders standing here, Mayor Lightfoot, Superintendent Beck, and Mike Strama. This has been quite a welcoming tour. Now, to be sure, I've been to Chicago many times in my life. Nearly every year I've brought my wife and kid here to shop on Michigan Avenue, enjoy the beaches, and eat some of the city's notorious hot dogs. But over these past few days, I've seen a side of Chicago like never before. It was Mayor Lightfoot who said yesterday that a person's true character comes from in a crisis. That same can be said about a city. What I've seen from this city is one that is filled from end to end with generosity, compassion, and a true spirit of resiliency. And for anyone that needs a reminder of that, they need to look no further than today. You can see from these photos here alone how Chicago's communities stand together and protect one another during times of challenge and strife. From small businesses, church groups, schools, and local restaurants, all of whom are facing their own tough times, but still find the time to help their fellow Chicagoans, particularly those first responders. If I wasn't already proud at the opportunity to serve this city before, I am truly overwhelmed today. In just a matter of hours, my feelings have multiplied 10 times over. I want to thank everyone here once again for their warmth and support that they have shown me since I've arrived, and I just can't wait to roll up my sleeves and get to work in this fight in the weeks ahead. Thank you.
And now, happy to take questions, I think first from the poll reporter. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Good morning, Mayor. I want to begin with this. Well, with the first COVID-19 related death of an officer, do you still believe the proper protections are being taken to keep police and other CPD staffers safe?
Well, I'll start and then I'll defer to Superintendent Beck. Yes, I mean, we have, I've said this many times, there are kind of three areas that we've been focused on from day one of starting this fight against COVID-19. The first is keeping our healthcare system safe, and that, of course, involves our healthcare workers, but also our first responders. They are on the front lines. They run to danger every single day, and in this time, like no other time, are they running to danger. So making sure that we provide them with the resources they need, the training that they need, is critically important, and we're going to continue to do that. This is absolutely a very sad time for the department, for the DeFranco family, but also for all who knew Officer Marco. And we have to just keep making sure that we are diligent and listening to what we're hearing from frontline officers and firefighters and others who are on the front line so that we can provide them with the support and resources that they need. So,
So the mayor and I both dreaded the day that would come. But we knew that because of the bravery of the men and women that work for Chicago Police Department and the danger that our first responders place themselves in, that it might occur. So we dreaded the day. But we prepared for it, and we prepared not only adequately for it, we prepared as well as anybody has done. Now, does that keep everybody 100% safe? No, it does not. And nothing that any mortal can do will do that. But I will tell you this, and I think this is something that the whole nation can learn from. When faced with tragedy, you have to look it straight in the eye. And the mayor and I did that, and we recognized that our first responders by their very nature, place themselves at risk every day. And we determined that Marco DeFranco's death is line of duty. And because of that, his family will continue to have the protections of the Chicago Police Department. They will not be destitute. They will be taken care of. They will be continue to be a part of the CPD family. And I think that everybody needs to recognize that these are tough times, and things that are unimaginable in our past are going to happen. And we need to come together as a society to protect those that protect us. And I will do everything in my power, and I have done everything in my power to keep them as safe as I possibly can, recognizing that it's an impossibility. And I think that all of us have to come to grips with that. And I certainly, in my conversations with the commissioner in New York and the chief in Los Angeles and with David Brown, we all recognize that our folks are at risk, and we need to protect them.
Mayor, I want to move over to, we now know there are at least 76 confirmed cases of COVID-19 here within CPD right now. Do you know how many officers and staff are self-quarantining or on sick leave right now? And also, how's the department addressing that?
Well, again, I'll start and then I'll ask Superintendent Beck. We've said from the very beginning that we want people to stay home, even if they're a little bit sick. And people are responding to that, including CPD, CFD, and other city workers. That's what we want them to do. The only way to contain the spread of this horrible virus is for people to follow the guidance that we've been giving. Staying at home to save lives, staying home if you're feeling even a little bit sick, and making sure that you're doing the kinds of things every single day to take care of yourself. We need to make sure that people continue to do that. I'm grateful that members of this department, CFD, OEMC, all of our city workers are taking this seriously, and they are staying at home. We, outside of the first responder area, we implemented a very rigorous teleworking policy. And my own team in the mayor's office, I think upwards of 75% on any given day are teleworking. We're rotating people in and out so that folks that are actually coming downtown to work are limited in scope. We're in this for the long haul, and we've got to make sure that people are doing what is necessary to keep themselves safe.
So I echo the mayor's comments. You asked for some specific numbers. So there are 983 police officers off sick today. That's down slightly from yesterday. It's about 7.2% of the department's sworn population. I watch that every day. I don't have those numbers written down. They're ingrained in my soul, and I watch after the safety and well-being of this department as the #1 priority. I also look to see the future. You know, New York unfortunately suffers 10 times that rate of illness, and multiple times by a factor of about 6 the amount of folks that are off duty and diagnosed. So, you know, these are tough times, and we are doing everything we can to protect our folks. We have strong contingency plans for in any increases in illness, although I was heartened today because today was the first day since we kept track of this that the sick rate has gone down. So, you know, one day does not make a trend, but, you know, I look to these things constantly to see when those trends emerge.
I want to move on now to a question from WLS. They're asking if there's any sense yet that this tragedy, referring to this COVID-19 related officer death, has notably changed other officers' mindsets.
Well, look, all I can say is this. Whenever there's a death, and a death of someone that you know, it creates a moment of reflection. Certainly has for me. When I woke up yesterday morning and heard this tragic news, you think about your own mortality. You think about what that means for the people that you love. And I'm sure that officers all over this department, first responders all over the city, and others are thinking about what this means for them, sending up prayers and pleas to God for support for this family in their grief. But this is something that, takes your breath away. But we have to wake up again the next day, and I think everyone understands this, and continue the work. We are making some progress, but we have a long way to go on this journey. And really no one knows when we're going to hit that end point. We're looking, we're studying it every single day. But of course, when someone dies in the line of duty, it should make us all pause.
Recently, we received concerns from some CPD civilian staffers about social distancing guidelines and other measures not being adequately followed here within these walls. Are there any plans to require officers to wear masks while they're in the field or change safety protocols in any other fashion?
Well, that's already been happening for weeks now. And I'll, again, let Superintendent Beck speak to it. When we talk about the fact that we have been very focused on keeping frontline workers safe, and particularly our first responders, we've given guidance about what they need to do whenever they are making personal contact with members of the public. We are presuming now, with a broad array of community spread, not just in the early days when we were worried about travelers coming from China or other parts of the world. This is now, we are in this community spread phase. And so our first responders understand, because we have trained them to do so, that every time they encounter a member of the public, every time they answer a call for service, they should presume that this person might be infected with or a carrier of the virus, and we've given them the tools that they need to be able to respond appropriately.
And right now, our guidelines for masks are that when you think you need one, don one. And everybody has adequate supplies to do that. If they don't, all they need to do is go to their station, and the stations have supplies. That's not the N95 mask, because those are too dear at this time to wear consistently, but that's the surgical mask. As far as the social distancing aspect, we have given strict guidelines about that. Now, does everybody follow them all the time? If I had a 6-foot ruler, I could find a couple of you that are within 6 feet of each other. And we just have to keep hammering this home. This is a new normal, and something that everybody has to come to grips with. I appreciate the media's interest in keeping our folks safe. I visited the lunchroom that was profiled in that piece this morning. There was nobody in it, but I saw a couple of measures that we could take that would make social distancing more automatic. Obviously we are, as a species, human beings, we are drawn to each other, and that's a great thing. That's one of the great things about humanity. But all of us need to recognize that is not in our best interest at this moment, even cops.
That's our final question for you, Mayor. You spoke briefly, from me at least. You spoke briefly about
hotels. I was going
hotels.
to run off the stage, Jeremy.
You spoke briefly earlier about the hotels for first responders, 100 taking advantage of the Essex Hotel. From what I understand, hotels for healthcare workers may also be in the works.
Yes.
Do you have any details you can share with us about that?
We're in the final stages of dotting the I's and crossing the T's on a contract, and I hope to be announcing that very, very soon. Obviously, just like with first responders, there's a great need. Our healthcare workers are putting in incredibly long hours, stressful days, and we want to make sure that we're supporting them by giving them a respite as well. So that'll be coming online very, very soon. Hi there.
Questions, one for you and one for Chief Brown. So, obviously you've said that you were going to choose a new police superintendent among the 3 finalists, which you did. But, the Chicago Police Board announces their finalists on Wednesday, and then 24 hours later you have a choice. Mm-hmm. You obviously chose Chief Brown. In that 24-hour period, did you interview the 3 finalists, or did you do any interviews with the 3 finalists? Like, was there any communication between the mayor's office and the police board prior to this? And Yeah, that's the first.
Well, I was obviously kept abreast at a high level of what the progress was that the police board was making. You know, you are clearly aware that I ran this process 4 years ago as police board president. It was important to me that they were independent and that they follow the path that they believe was important and that diligence. But obviously, I didn't just pick a name out of a hat. I spent a considerable amount of time with each of the three individuals. It was clear from the press reporting, I think you were among them, who the three were, and we didn't waste time waiting until the formal announcement to do our own diligence, which was extensive, as you might expect of me and my team. And yes, we sat down with all three finalists, put them through their paces. I'm sure they would tell you that it was rigorous questioning, and it was multiple hours with each. And then in addition, once I was kind of moving in a particular direction, I've had multiple discussions with David Brown and came to believe without any question that he was the right leader for this important moment in the life of the Chicago Police Department. You know, having spent 2 short but meaningful years in this department years ago, walked into this room and the halls of this building many, many times, I have a great love and affection for the Chicago Police Department. It's critically important to me that we are the best, not just because we want that name. When the department is successful, it literally makes a difference in people's lives. And for me, success means a well-trained police department, that we really give meaning to the oath that they swear to serve and protect, that we provide them with training, equipment, and that we tap into that tug of public service that compelled them to stand up and say, call on me in the first place. Because when we do that, and when we bridge the divide between the community and our officers, we are literally saving lives. I think a lot these days about what this world looks like for our children. I spend a lot of time talking to my own daughter about that. And what I want for every single one of our children in every neighborhood is that they grow up understanding what peace feels like. We're not there yet, and we've got some steps to take on that journey, but the Chicago Police Department is a critical part of that vision that I hope to turn into a reality everywhere in our city. And so picking the right leader and spending time with this decision was something that weighed heavily on me, really, going back to December. And so I wanted to make sure I picked the right person, and I know I got my man.
You emphasized, though, kind of there being a wall between the police board and the mayor's office. I mean, as far as is it normal protocol to do interviews prior to the formal announcement of the 3 finalists? Or
I can't, I've never been mayor before, so I can't tell you what the normal protocol is. But obviously, I wanted to make sure that we were ahead of the game. Look, summer's coming. And, you know, but for the change in the city council schedule in March, I was hoping to make this announcement then, but you know, as we all know, fate had a different plan for us. So what I will say is I had a sense of who the finalists were, particularly from the media reports. I wanted to get ahead of that to make sure that we started to do our due diligence and had enough time to do it to our satisfaction. And we did that, and now I'm grateful that David Brown has said yes, and we move on from here.
Hi, Chief. So a question for you, obviously. You know, you're obviously familiar with Chicago, you know, having been here. What's going to be your first order of business in terms of, like, is there a single big issue that you want to tackle first? as the next superintendent? Obviously, this is a city that, you know, has gotten unflattering national attention because of the violence, but also because of police accountability issues with the consent decree. I mean, that's obviously a monumental task. But what do you want to, first things first, what's your first order of business?
So any good leader worth his or her salt needs to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. So it's multiple first issues, 1A, 1B, 1C. Number one is conveying to the men and women of the Chicago Police Department that I care about them. I have this saying that people don't care what you know, so they know that you care. Sincerely care about. Right now, the virus's impact on them and their lives and their families' lives. Number two, of course, the summer is upon us, and we have to have strong plans that build on what Superintendent Beck has put in place. The structure, the restructuring, and the plans already in place. We have to expand on those plans to make sure Chicagoans are safe during the summer. Next, of course, is, again, just continuing the progress on the consent decree, building up the template so that Chicago is seen as the best police department in the country, without question. And then those are my 1A, B, and C. Thank you.
Last two questions for the mayor from Block Club. Is the city considering shutting down any streets to traffic so pedestrians have more safe spots to exercise or get outside without risk of congregating or crowding on sidewalks or parks?
That's not in our immediate plans, but what I would say is this. The guidance consistently has been you should get outside, you should get fresh air, you should exercise. The issue is congregating. And I'm confident that people who want to exercise the right to go outside and get a blow and some fresh air can do that in a way that doesn't bring them into congregating in mass crowds with others. And I think people have been doing that. The vast majority of Chicagoans have been doing that all along. It's just in certain areas that I get, our iconic lakefront, for example, it's a beautiful thing. It's a thing that sets us apart from a lot of other cities really in the world. But for now, congregating there represents risk and danger. So people just need to use their common sense. You know, I go out and walk my dog. I walk around the block with my wife and my daughter, but we're doing it in a way that's consistent with the social distancing messaging that we've been preaching really from day one.
Last question from Bill Cameron. What do you think of Republican opposition to holding the November election with mostly mail-in ballots?
Not a surprise. Look, I think having come through a primary election and recognizing all that it takes to try to stand up an election in the context of this pandemic, where forever a lot of the election judges are our seniors, at a time when we're saying, hey, seniors, you are among the most vulnerable, take extra care. When we're talking about social distancing, it's really important that we think about ways in which we can encourage people to participate in one of the things that sets us apart in our democracy, and that's the act of voting and access to the ballot. And you look at Washington State, which has had mail-in ballots now for several cycles. You look at what we saw here in Chicago, where we had historic numbers of people who sought mail-in ballots. I think it's something that we've got to think about. And obviously, this is something that's got to be done on a jurisdiction by jurisdiction basis because our election decisions are decentralized. But in this time, even after we hopefully get beyond this immediate crisis, making sure that more people vote is a core tenet of our democracy. And we should never shy away from any tool that we can use to make that happen. I'd like to see us get to a point where particularly our young people are able to vote securely, using an app on their phone or whatever the latest technology device is down the road that hasn't been invented yet but probably is in somebody's mind's eye. Giving people a reason to vote, making it as simple as possible and educating them about what their choices are and why elections matter. That's something all of us need to do. That is not a partisan issue. That's not a red state, blue state issue. That's an American issue. And we ought to be thinking long and hard about how we can set the example for the world with our election in November.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.